Right, I'm not necessarily gonna lie. I'm going to say off the record, I know absolutely nothing when it comes to VA work and stuff like that. I am completely ignorant when it comes down to all the things of voice work and all the things about that in the industry and things like that. I don't know absolutely cock and balls about what the heck is the in-depth workings of the industry. I don't know. So I'm just going to go off the record and say that, because you're probably going to hear me say some wild and completely ignorant type beats of things, because I don't necessarily understand, and especially as a consumer, and really only as a consumer when it comes down to a lot of the stuff that I do like. Now, today we recently had the Genshin Impact 5.1 live stream, which if you watched it in English, you would have seen there was no voice actors there. The only people that was there was actually the localizers of the game, which, I mean, they doing their job. They're doing the best they can, I suppose. But still, nonetheless, it was jarring as hell. I think we can all kind of say that. And when it comes down to it, it was like, why the hell is this happening? Well, when it comes down to it, there is this whole SAG-AFTRA strike that's going on with a lot of the VAs that's on strike. And apparently, because Formosa is the, I guess, recording place of what these voice actors use a lot of the time, they cannot come through into the English side of Genshin and, you know, do the job that they are basically hired to do. Which I completely understand. Right? There's the AI side of this where, you know, obviously companies could use their likenesses without updating the contract or anything like that. And that's why they're on strike in the first place, because all AI voices and all that type of stuff, they don't want to get replaced by all that and all that stuff and all that jazz. And again, completely understand. I get it. It is absolutely important that voices shouldn't necessarily be shitted on just for AI to come through, do what it do, and all that type of stuff. I completely understand it. And if you're going to use it, then the most you could use is like use the voice and then give me my paper for it, right? I completely and utterly absolutely understand that. But then when it comes down to the consumer side of it, you're like, okay, I completely understand this. Makes absolute sense. But then you're at the side of it where it's just like, okay, but how long is this shit gonna go for, right? Because this shit could go for a year. This shit could go for just a day. It could go for a week or a month. And then at the very same time, because Genshin is a ongoing game, you don't necessarily know how far in advance people record things, right? They could have gotten just a year work of stuff done already. They could absolutely have it done. They could absolutely have, you know, other things within that spectrum done way further than we know. Or they could just have the next patch done and then they haven't done the other patches. Which, that puts a little fear into me, because I'm just like, oh shit, what if they don't actually have the entirety, at least of the Archon quest done? What if they just don't have that? And what if they just don't necessarily have a lot of other stuff done as well? And then you start going down that type of rabbit hole, and then as a consumer, you are just starting getting like really worried about all of this stuff going on, and hopefully things will get resolved soon, or you're basically pissed as hell that any of this is going on in the first damn place. Which, to clarify, it's not necessarily Hoyoverse's fault in terms of what's going on completely, but it's really the fault of the place, I guess, that they kind of have to use for like the VA site of recording and stuff like that. And that's just how it goes, right? And again, completely understand it, completely get it. Because let's say, for example, if a certain anime got, you know, English voice actors kind of removed when it comes down to it, or, you know, they have to go on strike for it. Because imagine if High School DxD Season 5 happens, right? And for whatever reason, Konako gets a very healthy chunk of screen time. And for all intents and purposes, they decide to use AI on her voice to sound like Jade Saxton. I'd be pissed as shit. You thinking you're gonna just chuck AI voice work on my Konako? You think you're gonna just let that happen? Absolutely not. I couldn't accept that. I wouldn't accept that. There's no way. Either give me the Japanese dub, or just don't give me that at all. Like, I'm just gonna be completely honest. There's no damn way. For me personally. And so I completely understand it. But man, I can't necessarily lie. Does this put fear in the heart of the consumer that's just trying to, enjoy their time, right? I'm just gonna keep it very much a stack. And then at the very same time, if you're someone that streams and you work on these things and you can't necessarily play it because of the whole, strike situation that's going on, which I'm not gonna necessarily lie, again, completely not knowing what the hell's going on, to at least like the most in-depth reason and ways of why and all that type of stuff, I feel like that's whack. I get the understanding because you don't want to get them more money, I suppose. Well, really, if it's just a studio, depending on the situation, then it's like, it's kind of weird, isn't it? It's kind of weird in a way, because it's like, well, if Hoyo's not necessarily doing anything super hard about it, if it's not really their fault on the subject, and it's the studio, at the same time, it's like, why does the game itself have to kind of suffer? I don't know. But that's just kind of my, thinking of it. Maybe it's just because certain reasons, I guess. I don't know. Again, I don't know. I'm not a VA. I don't know. I don't know because I've never really been in that, sphere and circle. And most of the time I heard anything from English VAs mainly, especially in the past of years I've seen, it's usually all bad things. So I can't necessarily say anything too much. But when it comes down to it, that's just kind of my thinking space of it, right? Because I just don't necessarily know. Also, I'm not gonna lie, and this is just kind of how I always think about things and how I kind of grew up and stuff like that. But this really is that mentality of like, for a lot of VAs apparently, where it's like, if one thing goes down, everybody kind of just quits and go down, right? It's like the whole phrase of like, one bad apple ruins the bunch, which is an idea I've never been a part of. I'm like, well, if they don't want to necessarily, do right, or essentially if they're messing up, I didn't do anything wrong, put me in, coach. That's kind of been always my mentality. And even towards this, I'm not gonna lie, as bad as this might sound, that still is my personal mentality. If it's like, all right, well, if no one else want to do it, then let me go ahead. Which apparently, if you do something like that, it ruins your career and everything like that. But then at the very same time, what if you got somebody that's in the VA sphere that just knew that really needs this lucky break, only for this strike to come through? And it's like, all right, do you choose not to do this stuff and then really not get compensated for it, and then all that type of jazz? If that is a situation that happens, or do you just go ahead and say, F it, you do it anyway, and all that type of stuff, right? Because, if you need to support your own family, or you just need to support yourself, and you ain't gonna make it because you don't barely get into work as it is, then at that point, it's like, hey yo, bite the dust though. It might just be it. You might just have to go in, right? It just, not because you want to, but because, hey, I tried to survive out here. Y'all voice actors already got money. Y'all already got other types of ways of living and all that stuff. I don't. I need my bread. So it is what it is. So on that part, maybe at that point, it's like, okay, that's a rough deal to have here. It's an absolutely rough deal to have. And again, I don't understand the whole thing. I'm just kind of saying what's coming to my mind, especially when it comes down to it. And again, I completely understand the whole AI stuff, and when it comes down to it, I absolutely get it. I do want to know if this also is affecting like indie games as well, because if this affects indie games, my boy, that's actually trash. That's genuinely trash. There ain't no way. In fact, that would be dead ass. Like when it comes to my series, when it comes down to JSX4, that'd be like, oh, I can't get anybody to voice Blue or Shoko or Symphony or someone or any of the girls like that. I'd be freaking pissed. I'd be losing my damn mind. In fact, instead of trying to do it like that, I'll be like, screw it. You don't work for no company. You don't work for no corporate stuff. You work for me. Your contract is me. That is all that comes down to. At that point, I pay you my damn self. I pay you my own way when it comes down to it, or what you honestly need. You come to me and I pay you respectively for your work. Just straight up be like that instead. Because I'm like, I ain't got time for my work to suffer because everybody else want to be on some bullshit. No, you come to me, you come through, and you come through with your work, and I'll pay you perfectly fine. I'm be like The Rock when he was talking about firing the damn ref in WrestleMania. He's talking about, I don't F around. You count that shit, and I'll fire your ass. I don't F around. I'm the boss around here. That's the type of energy I will be feeling, 100%. And if it does affect indie games, that's bullshit. If it doesn't, cool. Indie games are finna be they're just soaring high right now. They're just gonna be even more in a better position to make their shit. Which, why the hell not? You might as well, right? You might as well. You might as well try to get your shit out there and just dominate the field. Why not? Hell, some of those voice actors might just go to those games anyway and just have a nice time and all that type of stuff, right? And this is also the reason why I'm like, more studios should just have their voice actors voice in-house instead of just like going through all these other things, because it doesn't work out well. Apparently it just doesn't work out well, and it just sucks, and we get situations like this, and it delays games and delays products more than it needs to. Because I promise you, if this is also part of the reason why Kingdom Hearts 4 has not been shown at all, or we keep getting like missing link, and this is also part of the reason, I'm burning the entire industry to the ground. That is a promise. So that's just personally how I feel about this whole thing. Again, as someone that's completely ignorant to the whole stuff and not really knowing much about anything. Again, someone that do really understand what's going on, but at the very same time, it's just a little bit mad. Just a little bit mad. Especially if this persists and continues. And then what? You know, it's like, what happens then? Does Hoyoverse just fire everybody and then get new people? Is that a thing on the cards? Do we just get AI voices at that point? Or like, do they put pressure on the VA recording studio? Like, what is the end goal? Like, what's happening? I'm gonna need that to be resolved quick, fast, in a hurry. Because, you know, as to be perfectly honest, as a consumer, it's interrupting experiences and shit. I ain't gonna necessarily lie. So that's just personally how I feel, right? And again, give me shit if that's perfectly fine. I'm not necessarily, you know, smart in this area, so I'm not necessarily gonna be, you know, complaining too hard if people give me shit for this one. But it's just like, that's just how I feel personally. Because why my experience gotta get ruined when everybody else's experience is perfectly fine? Because other countries ain't worrying about this shit. Other countries ain't worried about this shit at all. They're just like, shit, sucks to be you, sir. And that's just kind of how it is, right? So, that's just me. That's just my take, personally. So, hopefully you did enjoy when it comes down to it. Let me know in the comments if you're someone that actually does voice work or actually does, you know stuff about it. Please tell me in the comments below, just in general, about everything about it and stuff like that, because again, there's parts of it where it's like, I absolutely understand, and there's a single, maybe small 2 strands of it where it's just like, this is frustrating, why is it like this, right? Because there's a lot of it that's like that, and I just don't understand. Like, I can't play certain video games because of the whole thing. Why is that the case? I don't know. It's a little weird. So that's just me. But yeah, that's really what I throw down with this one. So hopefully you did enjoy. If you did, be sure to like, share, subscribe, hit the bell notification on out. Also follow on socials and let's do on the channel. Kofi and Cash App is available as well. And until next, boy Jay, sign off. Have a blessed day.